cell phone. Gotta remember to hit the right side.
All right, try. Y'all asked for it, so more information about the antennas around here, so let's go ahead and get to it.
Just 180 degrees, everyone. Gordo here, WB6N08. The mobile antenna we have here is a multi-band antenna, and it requires manual tuning. Most of the motorized antennas have electronic motor. This one is manual. The reason it's manual, if you'll open up the front door of that vehicle there, the reason it's magical, did you hear that noise? Well, what we want to do with a mobile antenna is find out where that noise is resonant. And up here, you can see the moving tap.
Oh, nice.
And you're going to hear when we hit resonance on 40 meters. Listen for the background noise and hold just for a second here. And here we go.
Noise went away.
Resonance. Down on 75 meters, it'll just about knock you out of the cab. It's so loud. So we adjust resonance first by noise, and then we get out the SWR analyzer. And for those of you working with different antennas, the SWR analyzer is your good friend. But remember, achieving a 50 ohm load does not necessarily mean you got the best antenna in the world. The best is usually one of the largest. So this compared to that, they're going to win every time, unless we turn on the amplifier. So you don't need a huge vehicle. This is a 3/8-24, and for portability, it can come off in a moment. We do have one little line that goes around it, but I never would operate going down the road with that monster up like that. The capacity hat takes off 5 turns of coil. And anytime you can minimize the R² losses in an antenna coil, the better. The larger the coil, it's going to be, believe it or not, the tighter the Q. And as you can hear, just 1 or 2 changes of the elements looking up here.
Yeah. Changing the induction greatly.
Hear that noise go away? Resonance. So those that want to see, just peek in and see how a bunch of radios work inside the comm unit, feel free to circle around this way.
Okay, my name's Stu, KE6NCU. This is my first time to QuartzFest. The antenna I'm using is the antenna, it's a duplicate of the antenna I have at home. It's called a Ultimax DX Extreme. They come in various lengths. This happens to be 53 feet. It's supposedly tunable from 1 megahertz to 54 megahertz. I can't tune it on 160 meters without an external tuner. But I'm running an ICOM 7300, and everything else tunes pretty well. 80 meter does not tune well on this short of an antenna, but they make this in various lengths. It's capable of 2 kilowatts. It works, when you cut it out of the box, the thing seems to be tuned perfectly for 20 meters, which is ideal if you're into DXing. That's probably why they call this a DX Extreme. I talk with this antenna all the time to Australia, New Zealand, Japan. It's like a local call for me. It's pretty easy. The pole, when I looked at poles, I couldn't believe how much poles cost. What I did was I found this thing on eBay. It's actually a pruning pole. It's 26 feet long, but it comes in 3-foot sections, so it's very portable. I guided at the top. I tested it at home to see if I could even get it up, and it really wasn't too bad. In this wind, it's been up and down a couple of times, but it didn't break, thank gosh. That's about all I can tell you about it.
Okay, you guys hear me okay? Yes, you do. Okay, November X-ray 6 Delta. Okay, so this is a 35-foot fiberglass push-up telescoping mast, and this antenna is much bigger than, it looks much bigger than it actually is. The antenna is fundamentally a G5RV, and the G5RV has a 450 ohm ladder line insert that starts at the bottom and goes to the top and needs to be vertical. And so that is what drove the design here. And that piece of ladder line is a specific length, and it's like 32.5 feet or something like that. And so the first element here of the design is to create a fiberglass mast that will carry that piece of ladder line. And then at the top, we have two radiating elements that come out. One of them is right overhead where I'm pointing and going down. Here we are again. And then the second element is you see it coming from the top and going over in the direction of that white trailer down to the ground. So it is an inverted V, and it's on 33 feet of ladder line with a ballon at the bottom. This is, like I said, essentially a G5RV. The design is actually a modification of the G5RV done by a guy in New Zealand. And if you go out there and Google for G5RV New Zealand, you'll find it. This antenna resonates, well, not resonates, but is usable on more bands than the original G5RV. Yeah, I can put this up by myself, believe it or not. It's guide at 3 levels, actually at 4 levels, and I have little tattletales on the guy ropes. So I'll push up a section, and the tattletale will tell me where to set the guy rope to get the first section up, and then I move the ropes and push the second section up, and so on. You can do it. It takes a while. You do a lot of running around, but it gets the job done.
Well, my name is Mark Steele, KI7RB. I have been with the Red Cross for about 6 years now, and this is sort of our bread and butter HF antenna for our emergency communications van, which is behind me. It is really versatile, it's easy to put up, and it doesn't even require a tuner. It's a Yaesu YA30, effective 83 feet. As far as the whole dipole goes, but the broadband capabilities is amazing. Anywhere from 1.6 up to 30 meg. And anything under 18 meg, it has at least a 2-to-1 or less SWR, and above 18 to 30, it's 3-to-1 or less. So I have a tuner with it that I typically use, but it isn't necessary. We like it in the Red Cross primarily because it gives something that is easy to carry. It just rolls up around a cardboard tube. And the poles we can put in the tubes at the back here, underneath the back, and stick the tubes in there as far as the powers go. It'll handle up to 150 watts. And it serves strawberry shortcake on Sundays.
Okay, this is made by MFJ, and it's called an octopus. All it is 8 quarter waves, the ham sticks stuck together, any variety, any maker, any model, of any frequency you want. So you don't have to take it down. You get 4 different frequencies or 4 different bands. You're not going to win any DX contest with it, but it works really well for my purposes of camping. And other than that, there's nothing else to say about it.
Oh, come on! Give us some more!
Not W, it's KN60AM, and my antenna is a 49-to-1 Un transformer with a 73-foot long wire. I was trying to pay as much attention as I could to getting the antenna off the ground. That antenna is 30 feet of poles, so I'm 30 feet off the ground. In addition, I've insulated the ends of the antenna to keep everything away from it, to try to keep my radiation pattern. and I've also got a 17-foot counterpoise. I'm getting mixed opinions from people. Some people say you don't need the 17-foot counterpoise on a 49-to-1. Some people say you do. So I just put it up there. Interestingly enough, I took my coax out and I had a piece of 400, LMR 400, that was 24 feet long, so that I could make a throughput into my bulkhead connector into my trailer without getting the radiation inside by putting an RF choke, and it would not tune on 80. This antenna tunes on 80, and I get down to 10. I haven't tried it on 6, but it has a natural SWR of about 2 to 1 across the band until I hook it to my Yaesu and I tune it out. I was radiating effectively on 80 meters, but it has a sweet spot on 17. It likes it. The natural resonant point is 4.4 megahertz. That gets me nothing. And on these kind of antennas, this is a non-resonant antenna, so you're tuning it for non-resonance. If you bring the wire into resonance, then your impedance gets drawn down low by the transformer, and you'll have problems. So you want to stay in a non-resonant part of the spectrum. And this represents everything that I don't like about antennas. This is a very high impedance antenna, and I like low impedance closed loop antennas. This is non-resonant on anything usable. I like resonant antennas, and it works fantastically well. I am amazed beyond words that it works as well as it does. And well, why would I do something like this? Well, because those are the parts that I can get out of Tractor Supply. Those are conduits, pieces of conduit, a 3/4 inch at the top, 1 inch, and a 1 1/4 inch piece of conduit at the bottom. There's no screws. It's all held up by just black electrical tape, and you know, it works. And on the far end of my counterpoise, I've got my 2 meter and 440, and on my truck, I've got the ATAS. And let me tell all hams out there, an ATAS antenna makes a very lazy ham radio operator. So, KN60 AM.
Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You can support me on Patreon. There is a link in the description below. And to all my tankers out there, go forth and conquer.